sometimes I think, what is creativity? Sometimes, and if you sort of sit down and think, God, I've got to think of something new or whatever, that's only part of it. That's like groundwork. But in the end, I find that, if you sort of set yourself to that pattern, well, sometimes the most creative ideas will just happen. You think, wow. You just grasp them and then take it from there. It's coming to recognize the fact that it might all be over one day. And it's sort of like, the more we carry on, the nearer we are to that situation. You know what I mean? Because it's not like early days. After 10 years, you think, yes, we're coming. And because of that, I sort of have it in the back of my mind. I think, God, I think it obviously will end. It could end any day now. That's more my motivation than anything. I've just got more of a drive by thinking that way. If that makes sense. It's just, I will not come to the realization that it's going to end. But at the same time, I feel we still have something quite worthwhile to offer. So, I think that goes along with it too. We're still just as confident as we were when we started off.
Mm-hmm.
And I think every time we make an album, it's a new burst of energy. And I think because we do such different albums, I think we undertake them. It's like a new project. It's very fresh, and that's a nice sort of shot in the arm, And because if we were coming up with the same old thing, we would think, oh yeah, well, it'd be readily accepted or whatever. You know what I mean? It's playing safe. Look at the risks we're taking with this one. I think because of that, it's nice. We're finding our different areas, different outlets. Therefore, we're channeling our energies towards a different sort of, in different ways. It could still. We're still the four people, but in some ways it's fresh, which is rather nice. And I'm quite excited this time. It's like, is it going to get into the black charts? Is it going to sort of get disco feel? Are they? That's nice. We never had that until Another One Bites the Dust. So that's a new area for us. Why not, see what we can do there? And things like that. Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'd hate it if every time we came up with an album, it was the norm and we just kind of did things within that. And it is a risk. Of course, it could fall back, fall flat. But I think it's one of the biggest risks we've taken for a long time. It's all right coming up with the odd one that's out of the norm, like say Crazy Little Thing, which was good. We Will Rock You. It was nice. People can relate to something that's outside the norm, but then they have the rest of the package, which is okay. This time we've gone really out, and a lot of reviews I've read have actually said, don't. If you associate Queen with the Bohemian Rhapsody harmonies and that kind of Cecil B. DeMille package, forget it, because there's not an ounce of that on this, which is in a way quite nice. The way I see it, you write songs and they're like, I told you that before. I write them and once they're out, they're out. I just move on. If this album is, if it was a flop and if it wasn't, we move on to the next. We've had albums that haven't been, absolute major. Like Jazz was considered to be slightly, one that where we'd sort of taken a dip. But that didn't stop us. We came out with another album that went whoop, the game, and so that's the way. I can't sort of. If I was to sort of think about it in those terms, where I sort of wake up every morning thinking, "My God, are they going to?" I'd have heart seizures and ulcers and sort of. No. I like to think it is more broader spectrum than just that, after all. And it's just now, it's sort of longevity. Because, in the early days, if things like that happened, it would be crucial, yes. My outlook as being a musician is to try and reach as many people as possible, regardless of what they like. That's the way. I think that's the way. It's a very commercial attitude, but that's the way I am. I'd like to write songs and reach to as many people. I don't want to sit here saying that my kind of music is only... I don't want to sort of say things like that my songs, my music should only appeal to a minority elite or something like that. You know what I mean? I want it to appeal to everybody.
Yes.
it's. I think that's. I know a lot of other musicians who tend to be like that. So therefore, I mean, I'm going to take the risk, and I'm like, I'm going to write a song where if I have a ready-made audience, I'm going to hope that they're going to be a loyal following, as you say, and hope they accept me for that. But at the same time, I'd like to try and get people that obviously haven't heard of Queen suddenly get hooked on by listening to a totally different piece of music which they've never heard before. The Bohemian Rhapsody was an era of its time. You know, it's like styles of anything, like architecture or what's, you know, that's why you don't get, you know, Art Nouveau isn't so, you know, it's, I mean, people move on. So, I mean, you never know. I mean, the time was right. I mean, I think if we released, say, Bohemian Rhapsody today, to be honest, I don't think it would have been such a big hit. I'm not being modest or anything. The timing was right. You know, it was just, the feeling was right at that time. And majestic type things were, you know, the kind of, you know, the situation, the whole feel for that kind of song was right. I just think that if Bohemian Rhapsody wasn't written and I was sitting here today, I just feel, number one, I wouldn't write it now anyway if I hadn't written it, because of the way, my awareness of what's going on now. That's why I write things like Body Language. I don't consider Body Language to be that beneath Bohemian Rhapsody, if you know what I mean. I think it's good. You know, it doesn't have to be, you know, I mean, so the good songs don't have to be absolutely saturated with, you know, humongous operatic things or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I think Crazy Little Thing called Love is Justice. You know, but they have their sort of niche things. It's just, and it's luck. It's luck and timing, really. But at the same time, I mean, I just feel something like Another One Bites the Dust. I don't think that would have been a hit during the time when Bohemian Rhapsody was a hit, because there wasn't that kind of awareness. And I really think that part of talent these days is not just being a good musician and writing a damn good song. It's being aware of what's happening and getting in that sort of, getting with the pace, That's part of it, you know, trying to find. And after that, you just leave it to the luck of the draw. You really do. And I think a lot of the time, I mean, a lot of the bands sort of, especially the new ones, seem to want to get up there very quickly and think they're overnight, you know, they really feel they've made it. If they have one, they don't realise that after they've done England or whatever, I mean, you've got to sort of still do the hard slog and to be an international success, you really got to slog it. And you've got to sort of, just because you number one in, say, England, doesn't necessarily mean you know, you're the bee's knees. I mean, probably America hasn't even heard of you. And we got things like that before. Like, I mean, we had Support Act, you know, Haircut 100, and they were going to support us. And their album suddenly went to number one in England. Suddenly dropped off and said, no, we want to sort of headline. Okay, that's fine. But I mean, you've got to sort of, and even if you have one number one or even two or three number one albums, it doesn't mean a thing. You've got to come up with it every time and work at it just like it's. Yeah, I found that out from America. I think that's nice. There's only so much you can rely on a ready-made acceptance. You know, loyalty is one thing. I mean, you can't just because you've had one thing, you can't accept it. But just, you know, rush out. You only get a few of them, and then you've still got to come up with good stuff. There's sometimes I'm very near the mark, aren't I, really? And I just, but I do it. I mean, I sort of have learned to do those kind of things with a bit of an air of tongue-in-cheek, you know? So I've always got that to back it up. So if it kind of falls flat, I sort of come and I say, come on, you know, it's only a joke, but sometimes I do. It's the kind of thing when I'm in now, the audiences have come to accept. It's like, I mean, who get away with, you know, very few people get away with coming up to them and throwing water right in their faces and things like that. But if they come to accept that, and they're tongue-in-cheek, where I actually sort of actually ridicule myself, then they know it. You know, if I was totally serious and I did all that with complete, you know, absolute, how do I say that? If I was very serious about it, then obviously it would turn sour.
Yeah.
But it's fun, really. But I mean, I know what you're saying. I mean, I sometimes I do feel I could be the Pied Piper of Hamlet, where I could actually take them all. But I only take it to a certain limit. After that, I forget it. I wouldn't like to think that I was the Messiah or anything. I don't want to preach to them or anything. No way. I like to feel that I'm in control of what I'm doing, because I feel that I have to be in control. They need somebody like that. So I feel like I'm the master of ceremonies. That's as far as I'd like to go. But no way would I like to feel that I'm a sort of a spokesman in any sort of political area or whatever. It's just music. They come to enjoy themselves and just, sort of, it's this escapism. That's all. Yeah. Entertainment is the key factor as far as I'm concerned. Don't want to get bogged down by sort of giving them speeches and what they should do, and not even through the music and through the songs. I don't want them to actually think that, oh, come on, this song is worth, can you get the message or whatever? No, it's a song, we're playing it, and each night the song can take on a different atmosphere. Sometimes I can act totally. It's tongue-in-cheek and ridicule. Sometimes it can be serious. The moment I'm in the wings, whatever, I could be just talking to you like now. I could even do that in the wings, and suddenly it's my cue to go, and I go, wow. And it is. Yes. That's the way it is. It's just being a trooper, isn't it? It really is. No, it's just my adrenaline, and sounds a bit calculated, but I think I just become a performer when I'm on stage, and when I'm off stage, I'm me, depending on where you catch me. One way or other, I'm going to try and make sure that I stick in the music industry, because that's all I know what to do. To be honest, I've forgotten all my other traits. That I have something like. I couldn't go back to illustration or whatever, the degree, because number one, I think that's just terrible, and I've lost all contact with that world. It would be so boring if I had it all calculated, and I thought that in a couple of years I'd be doing this and I'd be doing that. I really don't know, and I'd rather like that, because then suddenly I find I'm in this area, and I just suddenly think, wow, I feel I'm doing this. Why not try something over here? You never know. Tomorrow Stanley Kubrick might come up to me and say, would you like to either be in a film or write the score? You never know. I'd like, that would be, it'd be great. I'd take that opportunity, whether I like it or not. Or, you never know. 3 years ago, if you're sitting here and asked me, do you have any plans of working with the ballet? I would say, not the slightest. And then suddenly I got the chance to do it, with, when they asked me to do a gala show and all that, I got the opportunity. I said, yes, why not? So I did Bohemian Rhapsody in the air, upside down, with the Royal Ballet. Now, can you imagine that? Not in my wildest dreams. That was about a year and a half ago, and they've actually got me in their sort of yearly ballet book, which is out. They actually put me in there, saying that the Royal Ballet actually got, and that's, as far as I can think, it's the only time the rock and roll has actually ventured into a sort of, into the sort of ballet. Well, it was sort of a bridge. It was a nice sort of, how should I put it? A dabble in an area where most rock and rollers would freak out to do it. I liked it. I just like ballet. It's a kind of entertainment that I like. It's the way they put across. It's theatre, as far as I'm concerned. And I like to see entertainers putting, that's the way it is, how they deliver and how they put across in different, and each, and the audience is so different. And I like the discipline and all that. So, I know a rock and roll audience is very raucous. That doesn't mean I can't go and listen to somebody like Montserrat Caballé doing a recital in New York, which I did, pin drop silence. Which is a kind of discipline which is wonderful. So that she could, she was, no microphone or anything. It's just amazing, to see another entertainer like that do it. And I love that. So you learn a lot from that, It's also like, so rock and roll is meant to be loud, but I like the pianissimo that you can get in opera. And when I see that, I think, why can't I relate to that. So that's why I'm thinking something like Love of My Life, bring it all the way down. It's nice. I mean, I can think, and then you learn a lot. It's the way the operatic singers sing from here, from down here. I mean, I've only been told. I mean, I have had no training, but I mean, I just sing from here. That's why I got nodules. But then I realized that there are ways of singing. You've got, breathing control, and I see how these operatic people can control those notes and things like that. And the ballet, how they train and the kind of lighting they use and the sets. It's all research, and it's very useful.